Okay, so we go on to poop, what is normal, okay, and what is not. So I'll show you some sort of graphic pictures, okay, so be prepared for that. Okay, so poop guide, all right. So what's normal stools, what's abnormal stools? Okay, so if you look on the left of your screen, I put up here a Bristol Stool Chart that gives you an idea of the different types of poop that we're going to be looking at. Okay, so one basically it's a little sort of round stones like nuts, hard to pass, and they're rather dry. Okay, so a two, okay, basically is sausage shaped but lumpy, quite formed stools. Okay, three is like a sausage, okay, but you see some dry cracks on the surface. Four is when your child's poop is like a sausage, but it's small, smooth and soft. Okay, and five is basically sort of little blobs, not too loose, but basically soft blobs, okay, with nice edges, and they can be passed fairly easily. 6 and 7 are a little mushier. 7 is actually more liquid, okay, where it's watery and not much of solid in there. So it really depends on what your child is taking. So is it a milk diet mainly? Have you started solids? Is your child taking certain foods more than the other? And basically this changes the type of stools that your child will pass. Something else that is important is basically the color of your child's poop. So good colors to have, okay, yellow, green, brown, all right colors to have. Okay, not all right colors to have would be pale stool, so like a little bit like my background in the back, so beigey, very light clay colored. That's not a good color, so please see your doctor early if you do get such light colored stools. If your child gets a bit of like red bright specks or streaks in your child's poop, again, that may signal blood. So again, see your doctor early so that we can sort of figure out for you what's going on with your child's gut. Certain foods like orange foods may make your child's poop change its usual color. So don't panic if you've given more pumpkin, squash, carrots for that few days and your child's poop looks more yellow orangey than usual. As long as your child is otherwise behaving normally, having his diet normally, okay, there's no need to worry if you find that your child's poop has turned a little yellow to orange. Just think back of what he has taken in his diet. Now, what is not normal again, okay, is basically poop color that is black like hair. So that's not a good color to have. And usually we need to be checking higher up in the gut to make sure that there's no internal bleeding. So that's something pretty serious. So please see your doctor again if your poop's color is rather dark and almost black like hair. All right, so what is important with poop is basically how easy is it for your child to pass stools, and the kind of stools and the color of the stools. Right, so do inspect your child's stools each time he passes because that gives you a lot of information. All right. Okay, so how do I know if my child has constipation? I think a lot of parents ask that because they've heard of constipation, but they don't really know, what constitutes constipation. So if your child's bowel movements are very seldom, okay, very irregular, so maybe 1 week, maybe once, maybe twice, 4 to 5 days in between. When the stools do come out, it's pretty hard, dry, or even like the first picture which I showed you, which was little stones, then you may sort of suspect that your child has constipation. This may come along with a tummy ache, like your child strains, there's a lot of crying, there's a lot of pushing and nothing comes out. So that's also a signal that your child's stools may be really dry and hard and not coming out as easily as it should be. Now, sometimes if you see like a little bit of blood when you wipe your child's bottom, okay, if it's like little red streaks, that may signify a little bit of bleeding, and that can sometimes come with pain when your child is trying to push the stools out. And that's usually due to a tiny anal tear. So at the place where the stools come out, there may be a little tear because the skin around that area can be quite sensitive. Okay, so these are signs or signals that your child may have a constipation. So please see your doctor. Now, if you're unsure, okay, take pictures, bring it along. I always tell parents it's okay to show me pictures, all right, because that gives us an idea of how dry or how hard or if there's any blood or anything worrying in the stools. Okay. All right, so if your child has constipation, dry, hard stools, very infrequent, your child sort of forces, sits very long before stools come out or strains for a long time, What may be the causes? So first of all, I think diet. So go through your child's diet. Is he or she taking enough fiber? Okay, enough fiber-rich foods, enough fluids in the diet? Or is your child someone who just refuses to touch any vegetables, refuses to touch any fruits? Then that may be one of the main reasons why your child's having hard stools. Now, as your child grows to be an independent toddler who wants to do everything and not settle down to eat or to sleep or to poop, basically, sort of holding the urge is very common at this age, and this can continue even up to primary school going age, where play is so much more interesting than sitting there and waiting for the poop to come out. So at this stage, there might be a bit of holding the urge, and as the stools stay longer in the intestines, that's when the stools becomes drier and even harder to pass, and old poop sort of accumulates and new poop is being formed. So you're going to have more problems with sort of a backlog of stools. Now, if your child's undergoing some form of stress at home or at school, your child's emotionally, more upset than before, not usual, okay, sometimes that may disrupt the stool pattern temporarily as well. Okay. So what to do as a parent? Okay, so if you go through your child's diet and you think that, I think the cause is basically not enough fiber, not enough fluids, it's not someone who's going to be willingly taking water or fruits and vegetables, then do try to be creative in increasing this in your child's diet. A regular exercise, when all of us were confined during circuit breaker, I think that was a period where constipation I saw more cases of constipation in the clinic, possibly due to less activity. This applies to just not kids alone, but also the adults. Okay, all right. So if you've got a very active toddler, okay, try to encourage time to sort of sit down. Try to recognize the sensation of wanting to pass stool. So these are toilet breaks. If you've got a potty or doing a bit of potty training, then this is the time to sort of calm them down from active play and sit down so that they recognize that there's a time to poop. Now, be patient and calm. I think if there's a heightened anxiety and the child feels it, that sometimes may be an obstacle in you trying to get your child to poop regularly. If it's still not working out well, I always say please see your doctor, because there are certain medical conditions that we do look for. If your child is having long-term constipation, no matter how much you've done, how much you've tried to improve the diet, there's something not right, then yes, please flag it up to us, okay? All right, so we go to the opposite, okay? So we switch gears from constipation to diarrhea. So again, some parents ask, how do I know if my child is having diarrhea? I've heard of diarrhea. I know what diarrhea is for myself, but I don't know what it means in a baby or in a young child. So diarrhea is basically if your child's poop is more frequent than usual, so like, 6 to 8 times a day, or if it's very loose, watery, you don't see very much particles in it. This can be a sign of diarrhea, okay? So there are many causes for diarrhea. One, again, if there's a change in the diet, a change of something that your child usually takes, then, diarrhea can happen for that few days to a week. Commonly, I think once your child's exposed to environment, there are always germs around your environment, and some viruses and bacteria do cause infections of the gut. In which case, doctors will tell you, oh, your child has GE. So GE is a short form for gastroenteritis, which is an infection of the intestines. Majority of gastroenteritis cases are mild, so meaning that if your child's otherwise active, there may or may not be fever. Just try to sort of reduce the risk of dehydration by sort of replacing fluids because he's losing more fluids from the bottom. In infants who are still taking milk as the main thing, okay, especially formulas, sometimes we do recommend a switch in the formula, especially if the diarrhea has been going on for longer than a week to 10 days. Sometimes we may want to switch it to either a soy or a low lactose formulation or a lactose-free formulation, because what they get is basically a secondary lactose intolerance where the body doesn't absorb lactose as per normal.